And welcome back, guys. This is the return of the Study Sundays. The first edition got out a couple of weeks ago, and I was intending to make it a weekly thing. This will be the case, but as you all know, the World Cup sort of got in between all of that, where I was not able to keep up my promise to myself. But from now on, at least for the rest of the year, probably much longer than that, you're going to get one study per week, always on Sunday. So this is one of the weekly formats I intend to continue. And for this week, we have a study by the famous composer Leonid Kubbel. It is white to move and make a draw. White is not able to win here. Black's pawn on f2 is way too far advanced and is one square away from promoting. And also there is the second pawn already quite far ahead, and the a6 pawn is gonna drop anyway pretty quickly. If you guys know anything about Leonid Kubbel, let me know in the comment section down below. There should be some information on the internet, but generally I'm always quite curious about these study composers, especially before the computer age. It's quite impressive to me how they were able to come up with such studies, especially that well, at least all of them from Kubbel, which I've seen, and many others as well, then are also correct. So they spent numerous hours, probably days or even weeks, composing these studies, which I personally find highly impressive. Anyway, let's get back to the study. So Kubbel, as I said, one of the most famous composers in general. Here, white has to. So I'm revealing the solution now, by the way. So if you wanna solve it by yourself, just stop the video, make a screenshot, put it up on your board, or try to visualize it, but I'm going to reveal the solution now. So white needs to get rid of this f2 pawn. If black is able to queen, then the game is just over, and if a7, black could just take, and then again, if bishop c5 check here, then the king could go to some of the squares here, for example, b8 or perhaps c8 here. Let's say to a8, just not c8, but a8, just as an example. And now if white takes, then black can go d2, and the king is a bit too far away here. So the king cannot reach the d2 pawn, and black is able to promote on the next move, and therefore black is just winning here. So a7 doesn't do anything at the start. White needs to go after the f2 pawn immediately by going bishop c5 check. Now black needs to take on a6, otherwise where does the king go? If it goes to the front, for example, to b5, then white even has ideas to promote himself. For example, after taking on f2, d2, white could think about going a7 here, and if d1 queen, then white could also queen, and it's hard to imagine that white would lose here, being a piece up, and there are not any immediate threats. As it looks to me, probably black would need to give a perpetual check here. So black's best try is here to take on a6. This is surely what everyone is calculating here, and white needs to take on f2. But the main question is now what happens after black's logical move d2, because again, white, at least at the very moment, cannot stop the black pawn from queening on the next move. But white does have an incredible trick up his sleeve here. There are two checks, in fact, which need to be checked. Knight c5 check is the correct continuation. Knight c7 check doesn't do anything because the knight needs to get very close to the pawn on d2. If knight c7, black can just go king b7, and again there is no way to stop the d2 pawn. After knight c5 check, the black king should go to the a5 square. All other squares have some faults. For example, if black would step to a7 or b6, black would even be lost, because now white has to discover check with knight e4. Bishop checks the king on b6, and then on the next move white can take on d2. King b5 also is not effective here, because white could go either knight a4 or knight e4, and on the next move, well, knight e4 is a bit more forcing, because if d1 queen comes now, then knight c3 picks up the queen, and white would be winning again. Still here, black could promote to a knight, and then it would be a draw, but this is the whole defensive idea. So let's get back to king a5, and this is kind of the highlight of the study, because now it looks like white doesn't really have any more tricks in this position, because there are now no forks. Knight e4, just d1 queen, and now knight c3 does not come with a check, therefore black is winning here. And knight b7 check doesn't do anything. Now black can go to b5, for example, and if knight to d6 check, then black could go king c6. On the next move, black is going to queen. So what is the trick here? White has actually a stalemate idea, which is not very obvious from the starting position, but white can try to get rid of the last pawn by giving a check with b4. Now black again has to take. If the king goes to b5, once again the same trick is there, knight d4, and it's just going to be a draw, because then knight c3, black can take, and this endgame is a draw. So what happens if black takes? Again, if the king goes back to b6, then knight e4 check just picks up the pawn on d2. So king takes b4, and now the whole point, white also needs to get rid of the bishop on f2. How can he do that? He needs to go bishop e1 here. Now, black has only two ideas to keep on winning chances. If he promotes to a bishop or to a knight, then the position in general is a draw. Yeah, now white can just keep the knight somehow, and this position is a draw. The same if black takes a knight. Now white could even throw his knight off the board, and it would still be a draw. Two knights are not enough to win against white's naked king. So black needs to promote to either a queen or to a rook. It's the same. The whole point is now if black promotes to a heavy piece, then white has to move knight d3 check. Black needs to take, otherwise white can capture on e1, and then it is a stalemate. The same applies also if there is a rook on e1, except for a queen. And yeah, now it's a stalemate. So pretty nice study overall. It's shorter than some of the others I've seen, but I really enjoy those studies where there's a stalemate in the end, and this is a motive you don't really see coming at the very beginning, I would say. So I hope you enjoyed this this week's video about the studies, the Study Sunday, and yeah. Anyway, that was it for this week, and I'm gonna see you in the next video.